Good evening, everyone who are already joined the webinar and who still not joined. Okay, for everyone, good evening. And myself, Mukunda Tamli, I am working as an information security analyst at ISOAH Data Securities Private Limited. So today, this webinar is all about cloud security. I hope whoever is in the field or having thinking about come into the field of cyber security or security, information security, they ever heard the term that what is cloud security? Okay, if you anytime hear there is so much cloud, it is in the hype in the all of the market. So today we will just demystify what is cloud security and everything. If you want to know, you can just simply watch this video from our side so you can get the knowledge of everything related to cloud security and all. Okay, so let me present. So I hope you can see it. So let me present you with the presentation I prepared. Okay, let me present you with the PPTs and all. Okay, so today we will cover cloud security, a key area of cyber security. Okay, anyone who is thinking or going into the field of cyber security or information security, okay, because it is a on demand skill that everyone is demanding, every Fortune 500 companies are demanding about it. So from their perspective, there is also a domain, or you can say a term that is cloud security, a key area of cybersecurity. So if you ever heard the term cloud security, let's we demystify it. Okay, using today's webinar, and this is will be your one stop to know all about the cloud and its security postures and how we fix the clouds and everything. Okay, you don't have to go another elsewhere. Okay, so let's start with the presentation. Okay, so let's check the contents after this slide. Okay, so contents. So we will see that first what is cloud computing. Now types of first we will see what is cloud computing. Okay, so then we will cover types of cloud and deployment models. Okay, like how many clouds are there, and there are so much deployment models. When we talk about cloud, there are different service providers. Like there is AWS, we all know. There is something called Google Cloud Platform. We most of the peoples are also uses the Google G Suites like Drive, Shades, and all. Then there is Microsoft Azure, and there is other cloud service providers is also present. Then we will talk about what is cloud security. Okay, everyone knows that there is something called that cloud security. We will deep dive into what actually cloud security is. Then we will directly jump into how cloud security works. Okay, we will see how cloud security works. Okay, like is it like a normal security like we do of checking our system or checking the logs, or else, okay, or we have to do everything. Okay, then what is the key aspects of cloud security? Means when we are using the term the security, there must be some reason from which we have to protect our clouds. Okay, there must be some threats. For that, we are implementing the security measures. So for that, there is the key aspects of cloud security. Then the cloud security threats. Okay, means what are the actual threats from which we are gonna secure our cloud, or we are using the cloud service from which our providers are helping us to more secure with the cloud. Then we will see the conclusion. Okay, that what we will learn from this whole webinar about the cloud and the cloud security. Okay, so let's start with the cloud computing. So first, what is cloud computing? Okay, let's see. Cloud computing is the delivery of computing services over the internet. Okay, so most of the you are seeing that you uses something called Google Photos. Okay, you know about the term called stock Android in your Android phone. So basically, what happens there? You will use Google Photos, Google Contacts. You see that if you delete or if you upload, there is also upload option in the Google Photos. Okay, did you ever imagine where these all the data get stored? Did you ever imagine like how when you click on that backup in your WhatsApp, the all chats are get backup? Did you ever thought why they get backup? What is the place they are getting their backup, or WhatsApp is taking the backup? Did you ever thought? That is because of the cloud. And remember, whenever you are changing your email, okay, let's take the example of email. So today we can take backup of everything into our email, from our WhatsApp chat to contacts to media files to everything. All of the data we can, from our browser data, browser history, bookmarks, everything we can take backup, right? Did you ever thought where did we just place those backup? Did you ever thought about it? They like where they stored their backups, and or where the backups are going? Is it taking my system or my mobile storage, or it is something else? If it is not taking your phone space, it is something else, right? So what is this? Here the concept comes, that is cloud computing. Cloud computing. So let's see. Cloud computing is the delivery of computing services over the internet. Things like servers, storage, databases, software, etc. are hosted. Okay. So what happens in cloud computing? Suppose you have a dedicated system, right? You had If you have a system, there will be a storage space where you will store your files. Now suppose if you have 1 TB of storage but all other things, but if you have a data of 2 TB, okay, what will you do? You have to store it somewhere else, right? What you can do? You can do a physical, you can buy a external disk or SD card to store all the data. Or what you can do? You can upload all the data in your Google account or Gmail account. Okay, we all see that they gives us 15 GB of free space. Now what are they actually doing? They are basically giving us the server or the data as we need it. Okay, they are giving us the data store, or we can say a hard drive or external drive or a storage space where we can put our data. So actually, cloud computing is this, means delivery of computing services. Because what happens before the cloud computing, we store, or most of the time nowadays also every company has their dedicated servers. Like you have your own dedicated SD card or mobile phone to store all of your data. Same goes for companies, they have their dedicated servers where they will store their data, right? So what cloud computing is helping? Suppose a company has 10 TB of storage, but they are only using 5 TB. So what they are thinking, we will sell that 5 TB on a rent basis. Okay, now what you can do, you can put all your data into their storage or their free space, through which you can access it, and your data is also secure. So basically server, storage, databases, software, everything is hosted remotely and can be accessed from anywhere, in anywhere from the world, right? For example, when you use the Google Photos, okay, if your photos are uploaded or your chats are uploaded in the Gmail, okay, how much time you change your smartphone, all the things will be same as you are uploaded. Okay, so this is the beauty of cloud computing. Okay, there is a remote server where everything is storing. Now it can be a server, it can be a storage, it can be a database, also it can be a software. For example, when you are using the Google Photos, okay, right? So when you are using the Google Photos, do you have to use a separate storage for that? Does Google Photos is taking a storage? It is only taking the storage of that particular application, not for storing your photos or your data. This is called cloud computing, means the data which we store in a remotely accessed system, and we can access anytime from anywhere. That is basically is the cloud computing, means making systems or delivering the computing services over the internet. Now you can think that why we need cloud computing, right? There is we can buy also servers and it may be more secure. Okay, there we have our own system, then why we have to use the cloud computing service, right? So, for that, what are the key characteristics? First is the on demand self service. See, if you want to buy a system or a hard disk, first you have to check for that, okay, which system is gonna work for you, what is your need, okay, right? What is your storage? Suppose if you want to buy a system or a PC, first you will check what is its processor, okay, then what it is storage, okay, what is the clock speed of it, which operating system is using, okay, is it easy to carry, is it lightweight or is it heavy, did this has a dedicated graphics card, and blah blah blah, you will use, right? So, but when you are using cloud, you just go to the cloud service provider, okay, and tell them that I need this service. Let's say you need a service to store all the photos. Okay, you just go and say, I have more than stores of photos like 5 TB, 10 TB, and I have to store it. Give me the software. They will give you that software. This is one of the beauty, that is on demand self service. You don't have to think about what is it processor, is it can store 10 TB of data, is it can process it, what how it will be stored. You don't have to think about that. Just self service. You go, you say that I need this service, they will provide it to you in very easy way. Then comes the pay as you go. Now, what is pay as you go? Suppose if you ever check that Google has something called one, okay, like if you ever checked it on the online, okay, that when Gmail has a storage or our normal Gmail account has a storage of 15 GB, that is free. When it is full, what Google says, to use more space, buy, right? So if when you are paying, you are getting more space, but when you are not using that more space, you just stop that and you don't have to pay for it, right? Because for let's take an example, suppose you have a 10 TB of data, or let's say 5 TB of data. For that, what you will do, in general, you will buy some hard disks or SD cards or pen drives, right? But this is a one time investment, right? But if you buy it, you store that data, after some time you don't need that data, you delete it, so that thing will be a burden. You have a 10 TB of storage space but you are not using it, that will be a loss. Okay, but in cloud, pay as you go. This terms means whenever you are using the service, you have to pay for that. Not much more, not much less. And when you are not using, you can just simply cancel that I don't need it, and they will not charge. So whenever you need, you will pay and you are getting the service. This is one of the biggest benefit that is companies are using to cut off their loss or running costs. Okay, now Third one is the elasticity. Now, what is cloud elasticity? Cloud elasticity is basically, suppose in your hard disk or in your system, let's say you have 5112 or let's say 500 GB of storage space. Okay, in general, I'm talking. Suppose it is getting full and full and full, you are keeping datas and datas and more datas. Then suddenly you see that you don't have much more space, but you have to store data. What you will do? You have to buy another separate device to store that data, right? Or if you suppose using a heavy system, right? If you have a high processor like i5 16 GB RAM, okay, now if you want to do some task that will require 32 GB of RAM, right? What will you do? You have to buy it, fit it. If it is only you can fit or install that on your system when it can support it. If it not support, you have to buy a whole new system, right? Here, cloud once wins once more in the elasticity. How? Whenever you need more space, you just tell them and they will allocate. You will say, I need more RAM, they will give you. I need more storage space, they will give you. I don't need more storage space. Okay, we will take it from you. This is the elasticity. Whenever you need it, you can just make it large, and whenever you don't need it, you can make it small as well. This is the elasticity, and you can't get in your own system, right? You don't have to think about what are the underlying systems and all. Okay, just whenever you need it, you can just add it. Whenever you don't need, you just free it. There's a simple. So this is the cloud computing. I hope everyone is understanding. So basically this is the cloud computing, means giving every service that we are using today. It can be a software, it can be a service, it can be a storage, it can be a database, it can be a whole system, or it can be a whole infrastructure to run a company or an organization. Everything, when we can deliver it through the internet, is basically cloud computing. I hope everyone is understand. So let's see what more is there. So now comes the cloud service models. Okay, because see, when I talked about, like, there is, we can, in the previous slides you can see that we can deliver the computing services, and this consists of storage, our infrastructure, application, software, database, everything. So on based on that, there are basically three types of service models. Okay, basic three types of service model is available. First one is the infrastructure as a service. Now, what is infrastructure as a service? Let's see. We will define infrastructure as a service like, suppose if you want to create, if you have an organization or if you want to create your own company, so for that what you will need? For that you will need servers, you will need data storage or data warehouses, you need OS, you need systems to communicate. Everything means the whole infrastructure. Who given the whole infrastructure as a service is basically infrastructure as a service, means which cloud service provider is providing us infrastructures for building the whole system or working of the whole organization using the cloud platform is basically infrastructure as a service. And it consists from data stores, from your servers, from your operating system, from your software, and everything, each and everything we need comes under this infrastructure as a service model. Now, the second one is the platform as a service. Now, what is platform as a service? Platform as a service is like gives you a platform to build your application, databases, and all. Means suppose you are running an e-commerce site. So you have to build an application because it is an e-commerce. You need a database to store its data. Now, suppose someone is offering you, see that we have this platform, just deploy all the application, database, storage spaces, and you can use it freely. That is platform as a service. Okay, when there is platform inbuilt, or any cloud service provider is giving us the platform to deploy our own application, database, storage, that is platform as a service. One of the famous cloud service provider, I hope most of the you know, that is AWS, Amazon Web Services, is famous for its platform as a service. Where if you say the example of infrastructure as a service, it can be Microsoft Azure, right? It gives us the whole infrastructure from AD labs to everything. Now comes the software as a service. Software as a service, example, G Suite means GCP or Google Cloud Platform. It's offering us Google Drive, that is a software, but it is a cloud based. Gmail, it is also a software, but it is a cloud based. Google Photos, Google Contact, Gmeet, Google Chrome, everything. But that is a software. It only providing us software. We don't know where the data is storing, right? That is why it is software as a service. Clear? I hope you are going. So let's see. This is all the service models or basic three service models through which the CSP or most of the cloud service provider operates. Right. Next, see on the next, that is cloud deployment models. Now, what is cloud deployment model? Basically, cloud deployment model means in the process of deployment or in the category of deployment, there are basically three types of clouds: public, private, and hybrid cloud. Okay, so deployment means here the deployment terms is conceived who can access or how many people can access, right? Okay, so first is the public cloud, means a cloud service that anyone can access. That is a public cloud. Okay, a cloud service or a software that is running on a cloud platform, but anyone can access, like GCP, G Drive. Anyone can access who have a Gmail, right? This is one of the example of public cloud. G Suite, anyone can access. Now comes the private cloud. Suppose your organization having or thinking to shift its whole system into the cloud. So what it will happen? What happened? So the whole thing will be in cloud. Now our organization runs with its confidential clients data. So if it is in public cloud, so anyone can access it, right? So what they do, they just go to the CSP, tell them that, hey, we need some private cloud service to host our infrastructure and all, just help us with it. What they do, they give them a private cloud which is not accessible from the outside. Okay, that is the private cloud. After that comes the hybrid cloud. Now what is hybrid cloud? Hybrid cloud is basically when there is a part of the cloud service is public and another part is private. That is basically hybrid cloud, right? So like if we talk about the G Suite once again, photos is for public. Okay, anyone can create a Gmail and upload there, but there are some part that will be to a particular organization or a domain, that is private. Okay, suppose if a person have two emails, one is his working email and another one is his personal email. So in personal, it is sharing the public cloud, but when it is he is using or she is using the work email, it is using the private cloud because it is not for everyone. All the features is not for same for everyone. That is basically an example of hybrid cloud where both public and private are together, and depends on the scenario it will work. Okay, sometimes there is also a term you will hear that is called a community cloud, and it is basically built of communities. When a group of communities create a cloud service and anyone inside that community can access it, is basically community. But basic three type of deployment models are hybrid, public, and private cloud. Okay, I hope you are getting where we are going. Now let's, so this is the whole the cloud computing types of cloud and the deployment models. Okay, type of cloud types in service models, cloud in deployment models. Now let's directly jump into the main topic, that is the cloud security. Okay, so what is cloud security? Now suppose you can say that, okay, so we thought that, yeah, cloud will be more beneficial. Now what happens if cloud got a data breach? Okay, suppose you are uploading your data in the cloud and then you hear that the cloud or your system has gone. Okay, there is a data breach of that company and your all the data is in drain. So everything we are using right now needs a security posture. That is why our cloud is also need security. So what is cloud security? So basically, when we are using the cloud environment, it can be SaaS, it can be IaaS, or it can be PaaS, right? We have to make sure that whatever we are running on the cloud, it can be the it can be a software, it can be whole infrastructure, or it can be a platform to host my applications. It can be anything, but we have to remember to safeguard the data, application, infrastructure. Okay, whatever we are using, we have to make sure that everything is safe from the theft, damage, so we can maintain the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. This is also a part of the cyber security, and we all know that cloud security is also a part of that cyber security, right? So why talk about cloud security? So we have to talk because whether the data is in cloud or in normal system, we have to make sure that it is safe. That's why it is also a practice of making things like cloud security. Now, in cloud security, infrastructure, unauthorized access, theft, damage, everything we have to remember to keep things like infrastructure, unauthorized access, theft, and damage. Okay, we have to prevent all the data and everything, infrastructure, platform, to maintain the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay, now let's see how this works. So you will got the idea that cloud also needs security. Now see how cloud security works. So, cloud security is a shared responsibility between the cloud service provider and the client. Okay, so let's talk about normal security. First, to give you a better view of how cloud security works. Basically, when we are talking about cloud security, or we are basically when we are talking about normal security, what happens? Suppose you give us a system and you tell them that make sure that my system is secure, right? So now the whole responsibility goes to that person who is using it or to whom the system is given for security check, right? If you from the domain of cybersecurity, you will know that there is be VAPT. So in VAPT, the whole thing is our responsibility to make that there will no loophole or bug is there, okay, to make the system vulnerable or to hack the system. But in cloud, when we talk about the cloud, the whole thing has changed. It became a shared responsibility from the between the cloud service provider and the client. How? Suppose you have a your physical system. Okay, so the whole responsibility becomes to you. How will make it secure? By using antiviruses, by using strong passwords, by using VPNs and all, right? But when is cloud is depends on the service model we all see previously. Now let's talk with the infrastructure. So when you are using the infrastructure as a service, what is happening? Basically, what's happening here, that you are taking everything. Okay, you are setting up your own system, your own labs, your own servers, your own data store, and everything in the cloud. So you have to think that you will have to secure all your system that you are deploying on the cloud. Okay, you don't have to think what is the underlying going on, underlying the virtualization layer, what is going on, what are the processor, what are the hardware, is there a power break, is there a power surge, anything. You don't have to think about that. That will depends on the cloud service provider who is providing you the cloud service, right? Now, but all other thing that you are deploying like an infrastructure or a platform, or you are using the database or application, the OS, whole thing comes to you for the cloud when you are using the IaaS as a service. When you are using the platform as a service, you are deploying the application database for that application. So you have to think that your application is up to date, it is fully patched, there is no bug in that application, so anyone can access my database, right? So this is the whole cloud security goes on. And when it is you are using a software as a service, the whole security depends on that person, right? The whole thing is depends on that how we will contribute on it. Okay, means the Google provider or who is providing you the software as a service, they will be responsible to make that the software is secure. So you got the idea that cloud security is not like normal security. I am giving your system to check the security, or I have the system, so I am responsible for all the security. No, cloud is on shared responsibility. 50% of the client who is using the cloud, and 50% of the cloud service provider. Wherever they are using IS, they have to take care from the servers, hard drives, their uh, domains, from their operating system, their application, everything. When platform, the application, the database, everything. And when software, then only in the case of software, the most of the thing goes to the software as a service person. Clear? So I hope you are getting what the how cloud security works. It is not like our normal security, it is a shared responsibility. So we have to collaborate and work towards the cloud security, right? Next, see what are the key aspects of cloud security. Okay, now you if you now you think that cloud, you can think that cloud may be secure, right? Because when we are using, so cloud may be secure, right? When we are using the cloud security, okay, that that it is in a remote host, so no one can hack it. No. Also, if you study a little bit, there are reports on data breaches of big companies who have their data on the cloud, not in the normal thing, right? So, first comes the data protection. Okay, so what are the key aspects? First, to think about the key aspects, first we have to think about what we are protecting. First, it is the data protection. So whatever service you are using, you are basically working with the data, right? Whoever or whatever you are using, you are basically working with the data. So data protection is the first and foremost aspect for cloud security, right? So how to have the data protection? Okay, for data protection, you have to think that how you will keep the data. First, you have to use encryption, or you can use encryption whenever the data is traveling or storing. So if there is a data breach, it is hard to break and see the data. Okay, so or anyone is capturing your data, can't see it. That is the first, that is data protection. So we can use encryption for data protection. Means whenever data is traveling or we are storing the data, it is in an encrypted format, so no normal user can see it. Okay, we have to think using strong password, so anyone who don't have any access can access our data. So it is the first, that is data protection or protecting your data. Next comes the access control and identity management. Okay, so whenever we are using cloud, we have to remember that we don't have that system physically. So who can be a security guard and guard that system, that hey, don't touch it, right? What happens, access controller because it is in a remotely service or remotely hosted, what we have to do, we have to think about authentication, authorization, and identity management. Like how authentication means to checking that are you the legitimate user who is accessing this. Do you have the authentication to access the cloud service? Do you using the correct Gmail and password when logging into your Gmail account? Okay, now authorization of what happens. Authorization, when you got the authorization, you have to see that a user who is using that cloud service don't have much authorization more than it needed. the less privilege they have, the better secure the service will be. Means, suppose I log it in Drive or Photos to see my photos. Somehow I can see what others are storing. My friends are storing in their photos. Is it correct? No, this is not correct because I don't have the authorization to see it, but still I can see it. So, authentication, then authorization, then identity management. Okay, like how I for identity management, like see, do you have a cloud service? Do you buy it? Do you have the proper account to check that your identity is there? Do you have that you are whitelist to access this? This is all our identity management. So access control and identity management. Also, there is a term in cloud security called IAM, Identity and Access Management. This is one of the key aspects of making the cloud secure. Or all the cloud security engineers or cloud security experts who are working in the domain of cloud security, they are focused with that IAM, Identity and Access Management. Means the identified or the good or the means that if they have an when they are using the cloud service, they have their identity in the cloud. So if anything happens from the client side, we can also check that, right? So IAM or access control, identity access management or access control and identity management is the one of the another main aspect for the cloud security. Now comes the network security. See, when you are using the cloud providing or cloud service, what you are doing, you are basically accessing it through the network. Okay, you are not accessing that you have a PC, you just opened it and you are accessing it. No, cloud is not like that. We all know. So you have to use the network. So you have to think about how to secure the network, like using network architecture, using defensive systems like firewalls and all. Okay, using VPNs, because if you are using a normal connection and you are using and anyone is doing a MITM attack on you, they can easily see your password and username, so they can access or they can intrude in your network, right? Also, you have to protect your system from DOS, right? Because if anyone wants to attack your system, DOS. So what are the sub points in the network security? It is first using a network architecture, a segmented network, right? Second one, what it will be using a VPN. When you are connecting to a cloud, make sure that you are using a VPN. So the communication channel will be secured between you and the cloud service provider or the remote host. Another one, what it can be using defensive systems. Okay, like web application firewalls. To if you are accessing it using a web application, make sure that there is a web application firewall. If any attacker wants to shut down your system, they can do the DOS attack. So what you will have to do, you have to think about what you can do for the DOS attack. Okay, defensive measures. Now then, compliant and regulatory requirements. What compliant and regulatory requirements? So basically, when compliant and regulatory requirements is like, let's say, there are different regulations. Okay, we have to maintain. Depends on the service we are providing, or let's say depends on which cloud service provider we are using. There are different regulations like GDPR is there, HIPAA is there, PCI is there. So what you have to do, you have to make sure that your system or your cloud service provide is meets all the requirements from the regulatory or the authorities who create those regulations or criteria. So if you meet that, you can then enter or work on that particular field. Apart, okay, there is HIPAA, there is GDPR, there is PCI DSS, right? Apart from that, when we are talking about cloud security aspect, there can be like, what we can say, there will be some, make sure that your operating system is up to date, it is fully patched, right? Your application is up to date, whatever you are using. Okay, you are using the compliance, right? Regulatory requirements comes under like patch management. If you find a bug in your application, you can just fix it and go move on, right? So I hope you are getting that what are the key aspects of cloud security, right? We have to protect the data, we have to manage the access and identity, we have network, securing the network through which they are accessing, and compliant and regulatory requirements, right? So we got the whole idea like computing, types of clouds, everything. Like now the key aspects of cloud security, right? So what are the key aspects? So we done with the key aspect. Now, if you are thinking that okay, but you may ask like, suppose we are using the key aspects and all. Okay, did there is threat? Are there is threat because everything is remotely? We are accessing it normal using the web application. Yes, in cloud there also is threats, okay, through which the attacker can access our system, right? There is also threats, okay. Let's see what are those threats. See, so most clouds, so the top cloud security threats through which the cloud server or the cloud system goes down sometimes is the data breaches and unauthorized access. Like what happens? Suppose you are an employee in an organization. You don't know what are phishing emails. Okay. What happen if someone send you a mail pretending of income tax or your office, right? You just go and click there and they open up a window for you. You just enter because it is showing you that you are entering the password in your cloud, okay. Or when you are accessing your system's cloud or your organization's cloud, you are just giving the application and you are accessing it, okay. So then what happened? The attacker, if they're doing the phishing attack against you, what will happen? They will capture all the username and passwords, okay. They will capture the username and password, and using that they can enter in your system. This is the most bad thing can happen, okay. If they got access in the cloud, now they can do anything, right? So, and all of the data, they will just take all the data they will take and sell it on the dark web or to someone, okay. So you got the data breaches, right? Now unauthorized access. Suppose you do not implemented the proper authentication mechanism. Suppose you lack the multi-factor authentication. What will happen? Suppose someone is trying randomly passwords and one got hit. He can directly enter in the system, okay, before authenticating once again. So what they are having the unauthorized access because that person does not have the proper access to the system, okay. Now after that there is insecure APIs and interfaces. When we are talking about cloud and suppose we are using the software as a service, basically what's happening, we are accessing it through APIs. Because if you see that today web application works collaboratively with APIs, and sometimes we also for a particular task we just use the APIs. Suppose when setting up an API, you have some fault in your API, so your API is not secure, okay. What will happen? The attacker who is wants to gain access of your system can unauthorizedly access the system. Now they can, if they have the unauthorized access, now they can download the data, use it, manipulate it, make the system down, anything can do it. But what's the reason? The insecure API and interface. Now, when we are talking about the insecure APIs and interface, it is the responsibility to make sure the API is correct on who are using the API. If it is IAS or PAS, so that means the API is used by you or the client who created the API. It 100% responsibility to make the API secure. So no one can break through your API and got the system access. Correct. Now there is misconfigured settings. Like, what is misconfigured settings? Suppose what happens, you are setting up a system. Okay, suppose let's take a small example. When we are using smartphones, what happens for our parents, because they don't know that techie things, or they don't have that technology, what they do, that they just keep the system wide open without any authentication. You just swipe up and you got the system access. Suppose there is an authentication mechanism, okay, but when you are setting it up, you forgot to add the password check. Suppose the attacker just testing that what are the weaknesses, and he found out that password check is disabled. What will happen? What will happen? Directly or suddenly the system, or he will get the access. Okay, he directly get the access. It is not the fault that the cloud is not secure, the API is not secure, or the or he is doing any phishing, or any employee is clicking on a wrong link. No, the system when it is configured was misconfigured. That is why they can get the access. Okay, clear? After that, what is DOS? Then comes, so this is the misconfigured system, and it is also happens in the normal platform also. If configuration is missing, anyone can bypass using that misconfiguration. Okay, then another biggest threat for cloud is the DOS. Okay, DOS. What happens? Maybe you have encountered, may not, when you are accessing a website, there is a, sometimes you gotta check a Cloudflare checking. Okay, there is a Cloudflare checking, or sometimes you can see every what happens, we use the DOS protection. Now just let me brief you a little bit about DOS. DOS means such a distribute denial of service. Okay, means suppose we have a glass of water, okay, and it can hold 200 ml. Okay, a glass of water and it can hold 200 ml. Suppose you are putting here 2 liter. What will happen? The extra will be flow, right? In when we are talking about digitally, just shift it to digitally. If you have a system, your system can handle 2-3 requests per minute. Suppose someone is sending 20 million requests per minute. What will happen? Your system will go down. Sometimes if you ever encountered when there is a result publish, okay, there is a result publication, or there is something in a government site, okay, you sometimes see that server crashed. Okay, the server got crashed. Why? Because they have a limited amount of resource, but at same time it is 10x, 100x, 1000x. That is why it is unable to handle that pressure. That is why it goes down. Same with the DOS. When there is a system and you do a DOS attack, or the attacker gives a DOS attack, meaning multiple requests at a time, the system will get crashed. Okay, so this is another threat. If the system got crashed, it will no use whether you use a cloud or a normal platform, because the system is down. Okay, now when the DOS attack happens to the infrastructure, the whole thing will be down, right? So this is all the biggest cloud security threats. Okay, all the big cloud security threats that we have to deal to make the cloud secure, like the data breaches and unauthorized access, the insecure APIs, the misconfigured setting, and the DOS. For that, what we have these key aspects like data protection. When we are talking about data, we can just simply make it more secure, like access control and identity management. If we can properly manage the access and identity, will be beneficial from unauthorized access. Network security, if we use VPN, if we have a DOS protection, okay, if we have the DOS protection, so it is safe from DOS, like compliant and regulatory requirements, Like if we are working on a particular market, so we have to follow some compliances, maybe it HIPAA, it can be GDPR, or it can be PCI DSS, right? So this is all the key aspects and all. Okay, so I hope. Okay, so let's see what we have left. That is the conclusion. Okay, so in conclusion, as most of the businesses are shifting to cloud, security become an essential. So what happens? So if I give you the real world view, most of the fortune companies, okay, from our some of our clients, and if you just follow the companies, what they are talking about, they are everywhere is cloud, 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 cloud. There we have a cloud, AWS promoting their business, Azure is promoting their business. Why? Because we see that when we are using cloud, it is less, it takes less cost than handling a whole system. Suppose now you can think that why I need a cloud, I have my own system. Yeah, it is good, you are handling with your personal data, it is good that you have your own system. But suppose you have, you run an organization, there is 1,000 employees, you have the data of 1,000 employees, uh, let's say 100 200 clients. What will happen? All those data, they have big servers which they have to maintain. Okay, and to maintain a server, you have to make sure the temperature is always in a particular temperature. Okay, no more heat, no more loose, no attack, no power surge, there is electrical backup. Else thing, when you are running an organization, you have dedicated desktop and all. Okay, they are connected with LANs. Okay, there is AC control, everything, blah blah blah. There is so much thing when we ran into an organization. So from that perspective, what cloud provides us? First, on demand self-service. Whatever we need, we go to that cloud service, we tell them, that's all. Okay, we just tell them that, okay, so we need this cloud service provider. Yeah, we have this, you can take it. For example, if you want to create your organization infrastructure, you just go to Microsoft Azure, tell them I need an infrastructure, they have pricing, they will give you. If you have to host an application, you just go to Amazon AWS, tell them, they will give you a bucket, or means a platform where you can host your application. You don't need external server, you don't need anything else. Okay, and you can work remotely, you don't have to make buildings and all, you can work remotely. Okay, you can just, okay, you have a PC, you just connect to the cloud network and done. You can access all the resources and whenever you need it. You don't have to think about the backups. Okay, the backup is also done by them. Okay, you don't have to think the data store, where is my data storing, does anyone hampering with the data? No, all is handled by the cloud. You have to think about secure application and deploy it. Okay, then if you are working with software as a service, what is happening there? When you are using the software as a service, just go to the software, you are using it, you are uploading data, you are downloading data and all. For example, take G Drive, Google Sheet. If you are creating a form, it is automatically or auto saving. Like you don't have to you don't have to press the control S every time. Okay, it is getting saved every time after a certain period of time. And how many times, as I told you before, how many times you change your system, your devices, it doesn't matter. Till you have access to the data, you can access it from anywhere and also anytime. If you need an image at night 1 a.m., you can get that because all the cloud services are 24 into 7. You don't have to think much about it. Okay, so what we can conclude that when the cybersecurity is emerging with new technology and cloud computing became one of that new technology and it is hype in the market, also cloud security has a big view and big thing in that market, right? So what we can assure that when cybersecurity is evolving, it is coming into the big organization eyes, it catching. cloud security is also one of the field that is catching your eyes. Big companies are thinking about it. Fortune companies are thinking about it. How to make the cloud secure? Like because AWS, Google, and Azure, they are not only the service provider, cloud service providers. There is Linode also. Okay, Cloudflare also gives us a hosting. Okay, so there are lots of service providers coming up on the market, right? So I hope you enjoyed. Okay, you got a full view. Okay, so what we covered from first to last. First, we covered what is cloud computing. Okay, then we if we have to summarize it in last 5 4 minutes. So, what is cloud computing? It is basically cloud computing service or delivering cloud computing service over the internet. So, anyone from anywhere can access it. Then what comes? Then comes the cloud service models like what? Like IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS, infrastructure as a service, where you can build your own system or own organization or own infrastructure to run an organization. Platform as a service, where you can host your own applications and all. Okay, then what? Then you have like the software as a service. If you have to store, if you have to upload your data, you can just buy anything and you can just buy subscription from Google and you can upload your data, right? Then we see the deployment models, private, public. Okay, we are basically using the public cloud because Google Drive is available to all. Anyone with a Gmail or with an account of Google can access it, right? Then what we see what are the key aspects for the cloud or what is cloud security. So cloud security, what we see that make sure that our data is data infrastructure application whatever is it is safe from theft, damage, or denial of service, theft, damage, or exploitation, right? So after that, what are the key aspects? It's the data protection. Okay, it's the network security. Okay, it's the identity and access management, also known as IAM, right? Okay, we see also the we see also the another thing like, and what we have we after that, what are the threats we see? That misconfigure settings. Okay, you are deploying a system on the cloud, but there is nothing you can do. Okay, after that, we what will we see? We say that there is some um, what's it? There is DOS. Okay, attacker can DOS into your system and make the system down. Okay, so and after all, if what we got that, I hope that you got the whole view at what is cloud computing, how cloud is works, what are cloud security, what is shared responsibility model, how cloud security works. Okay, so that's all from this webinar. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, and if you found it meaningful, just share with everyone. Okay, if you found that it is one stop for all your queries relating to cloud. Okay, thank you.